Hey there everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So guys, finally, instead of just adding alphabets behind GPT-4, OpenAI has released their next GPT 4.5 and this model is very pricey. Just have a look at the pricing. If we go to Open Router, we can see that Claude 3.7 Sonnet costs $3 per million input tokens and $15 per million output tokens, whereas GPT 4.5 costs $75 per million input tokens and $150 per million output tokens. Insane pricing, guys. And just look at the input image pricing. Claude 3.7 Sonnet costs $4.8 per thousand input images and GPT 4.5 costs $108.4 per thousand input images. Guys, this model is very pricey. Even I tried to benchmark this model on the public dataset of RKGI and I was not able to complete the test, guys. Let's just get into the comparison. OpenAI GPT 4.5 versus 3.7 Sonnet. So in this video, we'll be covering reasoning, max, coding, and also image recognition, guys. And let's see which one is the best one. So this is our first question, guys, based on reasoning. Let's see which model gets it right. So let's send this to both of the models. Comparatively, you can see that the inference of 3.7 Sonnet is way faster than GPT 4.5. Likely because GPT 4.5 is a very large model. And I think that's the reason of its insane pricing. So we have got response, guys. Both models clearly state that each side of the model will appear to rise. But if I say comparatively which model's response was better, I would say that was GPT 4.5 because when I'm looking at the answers, one more thing that I look for is it should clearly mention that the west side appears to sink. 3.7 Sonnet says west side may appear to sink slightly or remain the same, which is wrong. It will definitely sink. Whereas GPT 4.5 clearly says that west side will appear to be lower, showing it is more confident with its response. But anyways, both models get it right, so both gain 1 point. Now let's move on to the next question. So okay guys, so this next question is based on logical reasoning. They have to understand the repeating pattern and find out which option is correct. So the correct answer is option B. Let's see which model gets it right. Okay guys, both the models have dungeon rating and GPT 4.5 gets the wrong answer, guys. It says option D, whereas 3.7 Sonnet clearly gets the answer, that is option B, and it also identifies the pattern, guys. It says which forms a repeating pattern BAA, whereas GPT 4.5, despite being a larger model and taking more inference time, was not able to get it right, guys. So that is a clear win for 3.7 Sonnet. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this next question is based on spatial reasoning and grids. The diagrammatic representation of the question is visible to you. You have to understand the example grids and come up with the right answer. So let's send this to both of the models. Let's see which one gets it right. So we have responses from both of the models, guys. Let's compare them. So the correct answer is all the cells will be 0, leaving the middle one. That will be 1. But we can clearly see that GPT 4.5 doesn't get it right. Compared to 3.7 Sonnet, it generated a smaller response, guys. You can see GPT 4.5 generated a lot of tokens. 3.7 Sonnet generated less tokens, and also it's the first time a non-thinking model has got this correct, guys. 3.7 Sonnet is nailing it. Again, this point goes to 3.7 Sonnet. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this next question requires a very good understanding of the coordinate plane. Here I have plotted some points and also mentioned how they are connected. So they have to connect the dots and understand the underlying word. So the underlying word is artificial. Let's see which model actually finds it out. So in absolutely blazing fast speed, 3.7 Sonnet gets it right. It says it's artificial, whereas GPT 4.5 is still just starting. So finally GPT 4.5 also gets it right. It says artificial. That is nice. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay guys, so this next question is also based on logical reasoning. Here 64 players are made to play in 6 different rounds. There are various conditions based on which it is decided who will play with whom. So at the end, what we ask is if player 23 and 46 play against each other, so can 9 play with 13, 6 play with 18, 5 play with 51 and 17 play with 15, or none of these players will be able to play with the other person. So they have to find out the correct answer. The correct answer is 9 and 13. Let's see which model gets it right, guys. Just to show you, you can see the inference speed. 3.7 Sonnet is absolutely blazing fast compared to GPT 4.5, which reminds me of the early days of GPT 4. Okay guys, we have got the response from both models. Let's see. So 3.7 Sonnet says that the option E is correct, none of these, which is wrong. Actually 9 and 13 will be able to play with each other. Similarly, GPT 4.5 says 17 and 15 will be able to play with each other, which is actually wrong. Only 9 and 13 will be able to play with each other. So that is a fail for both of these models. Let's move on to the last reasoning question. So this is the seating arrangement question. This is also based on logical reasoning and spatial reasoning. So here 8 friends P, Q, R, S, T, V, W and Y are made to sit around a square table according to certain conditions. Immediately after that, we completely change the seating arrangement. They are made to shape alphabetically in clockwise direction starting with P. So what the models have to do is they have to find out how many persons are there whose position has not changed from first to second seating arrangement, and also who are they. So the correct answer is only one person, and that is Q. So let's see if they are able to get it right. Up until this point, no model has been able to get this right. They get partially correct, identifying the number of people, that is one, but they don't get the correct person because these models in very hard scenarios fail to understand what is left and what is right. Okay, we have the responses from both of the models. Let's compare them, guys. So GPT 4.5 says the answer is 3. There are 3 persons, S, T and W, which is absolutely wrong. Moving on to Claude 3.7 Sonnet, it says there are 0 people excluding P whose position has not changed. Again, that is wrong, guys. Excluding P, there is one person and that is Q. So both of these models were not able to come to the correct conclusion, but looking at the reasoning, we can see that 3.7 Sonnet is clearly in a lead. So now let's move on to the max section, guys. Starting off with a simple max question. In a certain non-leap year, January 1 was Monday. What day of the week was April 1 of the same year? So let's send this to both models. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we have got the responses and both models have correctly identified that April 1 will fall on a Sunday. Let's regenerate to see if anything changes. So we have got the responses and again both of them give the correct answer Sunday. So both models get 1 point. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay everyone, so this next question is based on geometry. The correct answer is 104. Let's see which model gets it right. So let's send this. Okay, both models are done generating. Now let's compare the answers. GPT 4.5 says the answer is 667, but the correct answer is 104. That's a fail. Moving on to Claude 3.7 Sonnet, it says the answer is 66, which is again wrong. So both of these models fail. Let's move on to the next question. So this is also based on geometry. In this question, a particular region of a circle is shaded and they have to find out what percentage of the whole circle is the shaded region. So let's send this question to both models. The correct answer is 19.6%. Let's see. Okay, guys, we have got the response from both models and GPT 4.5 gets it right, guys. It says 19.55%. That's absolutely awesome. Moving on to 3.7 Sonnet, it gets close. It says 16.7%, but that is wrong. Now that is a clear win for GPT 4.5. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay everyone, so this next question is based on earnings. You can pause and have a look at the question. What these models have to do is they have to do all the calculations and find out what amount will I have in my portfolio after 36 months, that is 3 years. So it's not a hard question but requires long calculation and none of the non-thinking models have been able to get it right. But will that change? Let's see, guys. Okay everyone, we have got the responses and if you just look at the format of the response, guys, you can see that GPT 4.5 is very good at formatting the responses. Anyways, if we move on to the response, we can see that 3.7 Sonnet says my portfolio will be 13,511,000, which is wrong. The correct answer is 9,475,000. Moving on to GPT 4.5, it says my portfolio will be 8,545,000. Although close, but it's not the correct answer. And this question might seem very hard, guys, but it's actually not. So let me actually show you. I'll be sending the same question to the smallest model currently on the ChatGPT website, that is O3 Mini. Just have a look. As you guys can see, in just a matter of 41 seconds, we got the response that is 9,475,000. So clearly it shows that we should not be using pre-trained non-thinking models on Max. But even if you compare the non-thinking models, I think GPT 4.5 is the best when it comes to Max. So will that change when it comes to coding section? Let's see, guys. So the first question in coding is write a snake game in Python using PyQt5. Let's send this to both models. So we use the PyQt5 library because this is not optimized for gaming. PyQt5 is a graphical user interface kind of thing. That's the reason I asked the models to specifically give a response in PyQt5 because it's going to be hard compared to Pygame. Okay guys, we have response from both models. Let's start with Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Let's copy the code. Let's paste this. Immediately we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. And that looks absolutely awesome. Now let's see what happens if we go and collide with the wall, and that's a game over. We also have the option to restart. Press R. Okay, and that restarts. That's absolutely awesome, guys. Moving on to GPT 4.5. Let's see what it has come up with. Let's paste the code. So immediately we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. And we hit. That looks absolutely awesome. Let's see what happens when we collide with the wall. Game over. Press enter to restart. That's absolutely awesome, guys. Both the models gave a very similar response and a correct response. Now let's make it even harder. So this is what we are sending to both models. The head should look like a snake head. Also, the snake should have lateral undulating movement like a snake. So let's send this to both models and let's see what we get. Okay everyone, we have got the response from both models. Starting off with 3.7 Sonnet. it has given us a pretty long code, and I think it is 383 lines of code, guys, compared to 141 lines of code from GPT 4.5. So let's copy the code from 3.7 Sonnet. Let's paste the code. So immediately we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. Okay, and that didn't run, guys. That is a fail. Moving on with GPT 4.5, let's copy the code and let's see. Let's run this. Let's enter to play again. And I think that actually moves like a snake. Let's see. Okay guys, we wanted an undulating movement, but this is not what we wanted. So anyways, it was able to run the code. Comparatively, it was better. Let's see what happens when we collide with the wall. Enter to play again. That's awesome. Let's do one thing. We'll paste the error which 3.7 ran into, and let's upgrade the game even further. Okay guys, so this is what we are sending to both models. To GPT 4.5 we are saying that I don't think that looks like a snake movement, and then I've said that please fix that, and also this time two AI snakes will compete with each other for food. The one which is larger can eat the food or eat the smaller snake piece by piece, whichever is closer. The game ends when one of the two snakes is completely eaten. We are sending the same prompt to 3.7 Sonnet as well, but with that we are also pasting the error that it ran into. So let's send this to both of the models. Let's see what we get. Okay everyone, we have got the response from both models, and as you can clearly see, again 3.7 Sonnet generates a long code. This model has this tendency to generate long code, but GPT 4.5 again has generated a small code. Let's start with 3.7 Sonnet. Let's see if it actually works. So immediately we don't see any errors. Let's run the code, and that didn't work, guys. That is again a fail from 3.7 Sonnet. Moving on with GPT 4.5, let's see if it actually works. Let's copy the code. So immediately we don't see any kind of errors, and let's run this. That looks absolutely awesome. Let's run that once again, and we do see the both snakes, and we can see that they are actually competing. This is the best response that we have got, guys. But you can see that to win, actually the green snake had to be completely eaten. But that doesn't happen. The two snakes just interact, and then the game decides that blue is the winner, which is not what should be happening. You can see that the blue snake is chasing, and anyways, I can say that comparatively GPT 4.5 was better than 3.7 Sonnet, but not an accurate response. But looking at the consistent response, I would give a point to GPT 4.5. Let's move on to the next question, guys. Okay, moving on to the next question. The question is very simple. Can you draw a dragon using HTML, CSS and JS? Show side view of the dragon and give your best implementation in one single code. So let's send this to both models. Let's also open HTML viewer and let's see. Okay everyone, we have got the code. Let's copy the code from 3.7 Sonnet and paste here. Okay, that looks awesome. We can see that the newer models are actually able to give us a very consistent implementation of dragon. This is clearly visible as a dragon, guys. We also see clouds. That's absolutely awesome. So now let's check GPT 4.5. Let's copy the code. Let's paste this. Okay, now we can see the dragon. Okay, it has its wings flapping. So we can identify that it's a dragon, but compared to what we got from 3.7 Sonnet, I think it's not very good. So this is a clear win for 3.7 Sonnet. Let's move on to the next question. Moving on to the next question. This is also very small and simple. Build absolutely the best implementation of Super Mario game in webpage without using any external assets in one single code. Let's send this to both models. So previously the response from 3.7 Sonnet and family has been absolutely awesome. Let's see if GPT 4.5 actually is able to compete. Okay everyone, we have got the responses, and look at the drastic difference. 3.7 Sonnet generated 1300 lines of code, whereas GPT 4.5 generated 142 lines of code. Let's start with GPT 4.5. Let's paste it. Okay, so that looks pretty basic. So this is usually what GPT series of models come up with when we ask them to build the Mario game. The one difference being that we have this blue rectangle, which I think represents the hat and eyes as well. But other than that, nothing is different. So I would say that this is a very basic implementation. Let's move on with 3.7 Sonnet. Let's copy the code, open up a HTML viewer, have a look at it. Super Mario Web, start game. Okay, so the start game doesn't work. So let's give this feedback to both models. Okay, so this is what we're sending to both models. To GPT 4.5 we are sending, please come up with a complete game. Your competitors were able to do it, even if it means generating very long code. Do your best. And to 3.7 Sonnet we are mentioning that the start game button is not working. Fix any errors you find and give me the complete Mario game. Okay guys, both models are done generating. 3.7 Sonnet has generated 1308 lines of code, whereas GPT 4.5 again 166 lines of code. So let's copy the response from GPT 4.5, open a new HTML viewer, and let's send this. Okay, so we do see slight improvements, but I think I'm not able to jump. Okay, there is one bug, guys. If I just move the side arrow, I'm automatically moving to the upper platform. I'm not clicking the jump button, but it's automatically moving. That is not what was intended, and And also I'm not able to jump actually. This is clearly a fail from GPT 4.5. Let's see what 3.7 Sonnet has come up with. Let's paste the code. Okay, Super Mario Web, start game. Look at it guys, it looks absolutely awesome. Wow, guys, just have a look at it. Look at the coins, how beautiful they look. Guys, this is the complete game guys. It looks absolutely awesome. And game over. Let's try again guys. Although it's a bit fast I guess. But anyways, it looks absolutely awesome guys. Let's see if we jump over the enemy, does it kill them? Yes, it kills them. This is indeed the complete game guys. No comparison guys. There is no comparison. This is absolutely awesome. So that's a clear win for 3.7 Sonnet. Now let's move on to the next question. So in this question they have to create a JavaScript animation of falling letters with realistic physics. Let's see which model gives us the best response. Okay, so we have got the response guys. Let's start with 3.7 Sonnet. Let's see what we have got. Let's paste the code. Okay, so this time it was not able to fetch the letters, but the animation looks absolutely awesome, and we know from the previous video that it is actually able to give us a very good response and also fetch the letters. But anyways, it was not able to do it this time. Now let's move on to GPT 4.5. Let's copy the code and paste it, and here we go. We have the response, we have the letters, and also they are falling realistically. Absolutely awesome. Even the ball falls if I leave it there. Absolutely awesome guys. This is a clear pass from GPT 4.5. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this is our next question guys. You can pause and have a look. And let's send this to both models. Okay guys, we have got the response from both models. Let's start with GPT 4.5. Let's copy the code. Let's paste in the IDE. And immediately we don't see any kind of errors or warnings as well. Nice. So now let's run this. Okay, so can't say about the looks. Let's see what happens when a ball exits the circle. Okay, so as soon as a ball exits the circle, two new balls are generated exactly how we wanted. That is awesome. So this is exactly what we wanted guys, nothing less, nothing more. That is a clear pass from GPT 4.5. Now let's see what Claude 3.7 Sonnet has come up with. We can clearly see again it has generated a long code that is 230 lines compared to 142 lines from GPT 4.5. So let's see. Let's run the code. Okay, that is a fail guys. We can clearly see the balls are getting just stuck towards the wall, and that is a fail. So comparatively, this is a point for GPT 4.5. Let's move on to the next question. So in this next question, the models have to show the earth rotating, showing day-night cycles and a lot of things. Let's see guys, which models get it right. So let's see. Okay everyone, we have the response from both models. Again, 3.7 Sonnet code is nearly twice as long as GPT 4.5. Anyways, let's copy the code and let's see if it works. So let's run this. Okay guys, that didn't run. That was a fail. Moving on to GPT 4.5. Let's get rid of this one. So immediately we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run that. Again, that didn't run. So both the models actually failed this question guys. Now let's move on to the final question. So the last one is the Pac Man question, and if you don't know, we have to create state-of-the-art Pac Man game without using any external assets and following all the required conditions. You can pause and have a look. So let's send this to both models. Let's see which one gives the best response. Okay guys, we have got the response from both models. Starting off with GPT 4.5, let's see what we have here. So immediately we don't see any kind of errors, but the maze doesn't look very promising. Anyways, let's run the code, and that didn't run guys. That is a fail. Moving on to Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Let's copy the code and let's run it. And even though we mentioned that we don't need any audio, it actually tried to include one. That is the reason we are seeing this two-dimensional stereo mixer error. So we'll mention that again. Don't include. Okay. So we are mentioning please don't include audio. Give me complete updated code. And to GPT 4.5 we'll say that we'll just mention the error that it ran into. So let's run it again. We have the error, and we'll also mention to update the maze. So let's send this to GPT 4.5 as well. Okay guys, we have the updated response from both models. So let's copy GPT 4.5's response and let's see if things have improved and the code actually works. Okay, so now this time it has the two-dimensional stereo mixer error. We have clearly mentioned to not use audio, but it used it, so, and also was not able to run it. That's actually a fail. Moving on to 3.7 Sonnet, let's copy the code. It clearly mentions no audio. I hope that's the case. So let's run the code. Okay, and that actually works guys. But I'm not able to move Pac Man. It looks good by the way. I think one more iteration and it will actually work. You can see the ghost. So let's do one thing. Just for this one time, we'll be sending a prompt again to 3.7 Sonnet. And also we'll be sending the updates to GPT 4.5. Let's see if it works this time. Let's see guys, we have the updated code. So let's try with GPT 4.5. This is the third time I guess. Let's see, let's run the code. And that is a fail guys, that's a clear fail. GPT 4.5 was not able to run it. Moving on, with 3.7 Sonnet, it was already able to run the game, but Pac Man was not moving. Let's see if that fixed. So this is the code, around 800 lines of code guys. So let's run this. That looks absolutely awesome. The aesthetics is absolutely awesome guys. You can just have a look at it, but we are not able to eat the ghost, and also it seems that the ghosts are not following us. Okay, they are moving but very slowly. So that is a fail from both models. They were not able to give us a complete running code. Okay, now we are able to eat the ghosts, and also you can see the eyes moving. I would say that this is a very good implementation, but it has some issues here and there. So that is a fail, guys. So this ends the coding section. Now let's move on to image recognition. Okay guys, so starting off with image recognition, this is the image that we are sending. As you can see clearly, there are 13 people. So we'll just ask a very simple question. How many people are there? Let's see guys, let's send this to the models, and there you can see GPT 4.5 gives straight to the point answer. There are 13 persons in the image. Absolutely awesome. Now Claude 3.7 Sonnet gives us a very long response and gives us the wrong answer, that is 12 people are sitting. Moving on to the next question. As you can see, this is the next question. We have a tree-like structure with different branches and different levels, and the correct answer is this one. You can see 1 at the base, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13 and 21. So we are just mentioning you are given a tree-like structure, count the number of levels and also the number of branches in each level. So let's send this to both models and let's see what we get. As you can see, GPT 4.5 gives us a wrong response. It says there are 6 levels, whereas actually there are 7 levels, which 3.7 was able to catch up. And GPT 4.5 says there are 1 branch in level 1, right? 2 in second, right? In third, it says there are 4, which is wrong. And then after that, everything is wrong. With 3.7 Sonnet, we can see it says first one is 1, right? Second one is 2, 3, 5. When it comes to level 5, it gets wrong. It says 7 instead of 8. And after that, instead of saying 13, it says 9. Okay guys, so according to Sam Altman, this model is not about benchmarks and scores according to him, and it's more about having a very good conversation. So let's do that. Let's have a conversation with both models. So this is the prompt that I'm sending. Come up with a random scenario and talk to me. You pick up a role and I will play the other role. I will be male. Explain the scenario in the first response and then start talking and I will play along. So I'll be having a conversation with both models, and then after a while I will be sharing the results with you. Okay guys, so I had the conversation with both of these models, and I would say that 3.7 Sonnet is actually better. The reason being very simple. Guys, whenever you talk to OpenAI models, you might have observed that they always end up in a question. That is not how actual human conversations happen, do they? It is not that always one person asks the questions. GPT 4.5, as you can see over here, in every response, it ends with a question, which feels very awkward to talk to. Whereas 3.7 Sonnet, as you can see, when it's actually the right time, it asks questions, and when it's not, it doesn't ask questions. So I felt 3.7 Sonnet more conversational, and that is purely my point of view because this is a very subjective issue. According to me, 3.7 Sonnet is better in conversation. And that ends our test, guys. So what are the results? We could clearly see that although GPT 4.5 being way pricier than any other model, it was not able to keep up to its pricing. In reasoning section, we saw that both models got the tank question right, but when it comes to finding out the ABAB pattern, the point went to 3.7 Sonnet. Same happened with the grids question, but the question in which where they had to find out the word artificial, both were able to get it right. After that, coming to the 64 players question and the seating arrangement, both models were not able to get it right because they are very hard reasoning questions. With that, GPT 4.5 got 2 questions right out of 6 questions, whereas 3.7 Sonnet got 4 questions right out of 6 questions, clearly showing that 3.7 Sonnet is way better when it comes to reasoning. As I told you, I was not able to complete the RKGI benchmark for this model because of its insane pricing. According to early estimates, I can say that it is going to land somewhere around 3.7 Sonnet. There is not going to be any drastic difference. Moving on to the max section, we can see that both models actually failed miserably. They got the first question, that was April 1st is a Sunday. That question, both of them got it right. Geometry problem, both of them got it wrong, guys. But when it comes to the circle question, finding out the percentage of shaded area, it was actually surprising to see that GPT 4.5 was able to get it right. No non-reasoning model has been able to get this right, guys. So that is very nice. Moving on to the earnings problem, both models got it wrong, and I didn't test the models on hard frontier math questions because it's kind of pointless. GPT 4.5 got 2 points out of 4 and 3.7 Sonnet got 1 point out of 4, clearly showing that 4.5 is better when it comes to max. Moving on to the coding section, this was actually a head-to-head competition between both models. We can see that the first level, that is the snake game, we did multiple attempts, tried many new things, and in that consistently GPT 4.5 was able to give us a working response, so it gained 1 point. Talking about drawing a dragon in a web page, it was a clear win for 3.7 Sonnet. Nothing can beat this model when it comes to front end development. And that's the reason, even in the next one, that is the Mario game, 3.7 Sonnet won with a clear sweep. There was no competition. Moving on to the letters animation, we could see that GPT 4.5 was able to get this right, and from our previous videos we know that even 3.7 Sonnet is able to get this right, but this time it couldn't. Talking about the circle with an opening question, GPT 4.5 was able to give us exactly what we wanted, gaining it a point. And so the total scores are: GPT 4.5 gets 3 points out of 5, 3.7 Sonnet gets 2 points out of 5. So which model is better when it comes to coding? We can clearly see that GPT 4.5, that is Orion, having been trained on the tokens generated with Strawberry, that is O1, shows us a similar kind of behavior. When it comes to front-end development, it's not very good, whereas when it comes to actual physics and back-end development, this model is very good. Talking about the front-end development, 3.7 Sonnet has a clear sweep. You can absolutely generate even harder games with this model. So I would say that if I have to pick a model between these two, I would say that 3.7 Sonnet is actually better because it is absolutely best in when it comes to front end and just slightly behind when it comes to back end. Okay guys, so this was my video comparing both models. I hope I was able to cover all the necessary points and you were able to understand the performance of these models. If you like this video, do consider hitting the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.